It was a Friday night in New York, the kind of night when the city hummed with life. Olivia, 32, sat curled on her couch with a glass of wine in one hand and her boyfriend's phone in the other. She hadn't meant to look. She told herself she trusted him, but a strange unease had been gnawing at her all week. He had been distant, his replies shorter, his smile thinner. When the phone buzzed on the coffee table, curiosity overcame her. What she saw made her blood run cold. A string of messages late at night, not to her, but to someone else. Words that used to belong to her alone, sweet, tender, intimate, were now sent to another woman. Her breath caught in her throat, the glass trembling in her hand. For a moment, the whole world seemed to tilt. Her heart raced, pounding so loudly she could barely hear her own thoughts. "No, this can't be real," she whispered. She scrolled again, hoping she had misread, that somehow there was another explanation, but the evidence was undeniable. Every message cut like a knife, each word tearing at the fabric of the love she thought she had. Questions came rushing in like a storm. Did I do something wrong? Was I not enough? Should I have been more patient, more fun, more beautiful? The more she asked, the smaller she felt, as if betrayal had shrunk her down to a version of herself she barely recognized. Anger flared, then collapsed into grief. Grief morphed into self-blame. The cycle was relentless. She pressed her palms against her chest, trying to steady her breathing, but the weight there was crushing. It wasn't just the fear of losing him. It was the shattering of the belief that she was safe, that she was chosen, that love could be trusted. If you have ever lived through betrayal, you know this moment. The moment when one discovery makes your entire world collapse in an instant. It is not only the loss of love, it is the loss of certainty, of trust, of the ground beneath your feet. Olivia sat frozen in the silence of her apartment, the city roaring outside her window. She wanted to scream, to cry, to rewind time to the night on the rooftop when his hand felt like home. Instead, she sat still, carrying the unbearable truth. Betrayal does not just break the relationship. It breaks you. But here is the light buried inside the wreckage. From this breaking, a new story can begin. And in today's video, we will walk together through how to heal after betrayal, how to reclaim your power from the ruins, and how to rise stronger than ever. Welcome to Aura Rise, the space where we heal, reclaim our worth, and rise into the women we were always meant to be. Today, we are stepping into one of the most painful chapters a woman can face: betrayal. Betrayal is not just about another person. It is not only about cheating or secrets. Betrayal cuts deeper because it shatters trust, the very foundation on which love is built. You don't just lose a partner. You lose the safety you thought you had, the certainty that someone would choose you and protect your heart. And when that foundation collapses, everything above it comes crashing down. Psychologists tell us that betrayal trauma can mirror symptoms of PTSD, sleepless nights, flashbacks of the moment you found out, anxiety that clings to your chest, depression that drains your days of meaning. You replay conversations in your mind, searching for the clues you missed. You scroll through old photos, wondering how love could turn into lies. And perhaps the most dangerous wound is the one inside, when his betrayal becomes your self-blame. But here's the question I want you to carry with you today. The real question is not, why did he betray me? Because that answer will never heal you. The real question is, what will I do with this pain now that it's mine? In this video, we are going to walk through the steps of healing after betrayal. We will explore how to face the storm of emotions, how to rebuild trust in yourself, and how to turn the deepest wound into the soil where your power can grow again. This is not about rushing to forgiveness, nor about pretending you are unbreakable. It is about reclaiming your strength piece by piece until you no longer carry his silence or his choices as your burden. So stay with me, because by the end of this journey, you will see that betrayal is not the end of your story. It can be the beginning of the strongest version of you. The shattered self, what betrayal does to us. Olivia sat on the edge of her bed, the glow of her phone still burning into her eyes. The messages were undeniable, his words to another woman, tender, intimate, the kind of words he used to whisper to her. In that moment, something inside her collapsed. It wasn't just the relationship that broke. It was the version of herself that believed she was loved, chosen, safe. In the days that followed, she moved like a ghost through her own life. At work, she smiled at colleagues, but her mind replayed the discovery again and again, like a cruel film she couldn't turn off. At night, she stared at the ceiling, asking questions that had no answers. What's wrong with me? Why wasn't I enough? Did I miss the signs? The betrayal wasn't only his act, it was the echo of self-doubt that now haunted her every thought. This is what betrayal does. It doesn't just break trust in another person, it shatters your trust in yourself. You question your worth, your judgment, your very ability to recognize love. You begin to believe that if he could choose someone else, then maybe you were never worth choosing in the first place. And that wound is deeper than the act itself. Olivia found herself pulling away from the people who cared about her. Invitations to dinner went unanswered. Calls from her sister went to voicemail. She was afraid to let anyone close because closeness now felt dangerous. If the man who promised forever could turn away, what guarantee was there that anyone else wouldn't do the same? This is the hidden cruelty of betrayal. It doesn't just steal the past you shared, it steals the future you imagined. It plants fear where hope used to grow. Women who once dreamed of marriage and children suddenly ask themselves if love is even safe at all. The heart, once open, slams its doors shut. And in the silence that follows, you wonder if you will ever trust again. But here's the truth I want you to hold on to. Betrayal is not proof that you are unworthy. It is proof that someone else cannot honor the gift of your love. Their failure does not define your value. Their choices speak volumes about them, not about you. As one wise woman said, betrayal makes us believe we are not enough. But the truth is, betrayal says more about who they are than who we are. Olivia didn't know it yet, but even in her shattered state, the pieces of herself were still hers to gather. And sometimes, from the deepest break, the strongest version of you begins to rise. Steps to heal, reclaiming your power. Healing after betrayal is not a straight line. It is a spiral with days when you feel stronger and days when the wound bleeds again. Olivia's journey shows us that healing is not about erasing the pain, but about reclaiming the power that betrayal tried to steal. Step by step, she found her way back to herself. Step 1. Feel it to heal it. On the first night after she found the messages, Olivia tried to hold it all in. She showered, crawled into bed, and whispered to herself, "Be strong, don't cry." But the tears came anyway, spilling onto her pillow until she could hardly breathe. For days, she fought the urge to break down, thinking that giving in to her emotions meant weakness. One evening, she opened her journal and finally let her pain speak. She wrote everything, her rage, her heartbreak, her questions, her disbelief. The pages filled quickly, raw and messy. And when she looked back at her words, she realized something. She hadn't been weak by crying. She had been human. Healing begins when you allow yourself to feel. Suppressed pain doesn't vanish. It buries itself deeper. By crying, writing, even screaming into a pillow, Olivia gave her grief permission to exist. And in doing so, she gave herself permission to heal. You cannot skip the pain. She later reflected. You can only walk through it to reach the other side. Step 2. Separate his actions from your worth. For weeks, Olivia replayed the betrayal in her head. She told herself she must have been lacking, less attractive, less interesting, less worthy. But one night, talking to her therapist, she heard words that shifted everything. His choice is about him, not about you. Slowly, she began to understand. A man cheats not because the woman he has is inadequate, but because of his own limits, his fear, his selfishness, his inability to value what is in front of him. Olivia realized she'd been measuring herself by someone else's broken yardstick. The betrayal was his failure of integrity, not proof of her inadequacy. When she started separating his actions from her worth, the self-blame began to loosen its grip. She wrote on a sticky note and placed it on her mirror. I am enough. His choices do not define me. Every morning she read it until it became more than words. It became her truth. Step 3. Rebuild boundaries. After betrayal, trust feels like a broken bridge. Olivia knew she couldn't rebuild overnight, but she could begin by drawing new boundaries. At first, it was as simple as saying no to people who drained her energy. She stopped answering late-night texts from her ex when he tried to check in. She told herself firmly, "I will not give access to someone who broke me." Over time, boundaries expanded. She wrote down what she wanted in her next relationship: honesty, communication, respect. And just as importantly, she wrote what she would no longer tolerate: secrecy, inconsistency, disregard. Boundaries weren't walls. They were doors she controlled. By closing them on those who could harm her, she created space for those who could honor her. Olivia's lesson was clear. Betrayal takes away your sense of safety, but boundaries help you rebuild it. Saying no became her way of saying yes to herself. Step 4. Rediscover yourself. For years, Olivia had put parts of herself aside to make room for the relationship. She skipped yoga classes to be available for late dinners, stopped painting because she thought it was childish, put her dreams of traveling on hold. After the breakup, she sat in her quiet apartment and asked, "Who am I without him?" The answer came slowly. One Saturday, she signed up for a beginner's yoga class at the studio around the corner. Another evening, she bought a set of paints and brushes, placing them on her kitchen table. The first strokes were shaky, but as the colors spread, she felt something awaken inside her. She even joined an online course to sharpen her professional skills, something she had always postponed. With each step, Olivia felt her identity returning, not as the woman who was betrayed, but as a woman who still carried dreams, talents, and passions. Rediscovering herself reminded her that love may end, but the self is always there, waiting to be reclaimed. Step 5. Seek support and rise stronger. Perhaps the hardest step for Olivia was reaching out. Shame made her want to hide, to keep the betrayal a secret. But loneliness only deepened the wound. Finally, she answered her sister's call, letting herself cry into the phone. She met a close friend for coffee and said the words aloud: "He cheated on me." The more she spoke, the lighter the burden became. She also found a therapist, a safe place to untangle the trauma that kept her awake at night. She joined an online community of women healing from betrayal, and in their stories, she found both comfort and strength. Support didn't erase the pain, but it reminded her she wasn't alone, and slowly, she noticed a shift. Her voice grew steadier, her laugh returned, her heart, though scarred, felt alive again. Olivia's healing wasn't about pretending betrayal never happened. It was about reclaiming her power piece by piece, through tears, through boundaries, through rediscovery, through connection. The truth is this: betrayal may break you, but healing can remake you. Olivia learned that her story didn't end the night she found those messages. In fact, that night became the beginning of a new chapter, the chapter where she chose herself, the new self, rising from the ashes. Betrayal left Olivia in ruins, but it also gave her the soil to grow something new. Like a forest after fire, she realized that ashes are not just reminders of destruction, they are also fertile ground. At first, she couldn't imagine life beyond the pain. Every morning felt like walking through broken glass. But slowly, as she moved through the steps of healing, Olivia noticed subtle changes. The tears didn't come as often. The ache in her chest no longer consumed every breath. There were moments, small but real, when she felt light again. One morning, while sipping coffee by her window, she caught her reflection. For the first time in months, she didn't see a woman defined by betrayal. She saw a woman who had survived. A woman who cried and raged, but also rebuilt. Her scars were still there, but they'd become part of her strength. Olivia began to embrace a new philosophy. What happened to me does not decide who I become. Instead of asking why he betrayed her, she asked, "What do I want to create from here?" That shift from victim to creator was the turning point. She started saying yes to life again. Yes to a weekend trip with friends. Yes to a pottery class she had always been curious about. Yes to quiet evenings where she read poetry instead of scrolling through old text. Each choice was small, but together they rewrote her story. The new Olivia was not naive. She knew love could hurt, but she also knew she was strong enough to survive it. More importantly, she understood that her worth was not negotiable, not dependent on whether a man stayed or strayed. From the ashes, she rose not as the woman she had been before, but as someone wiser, freer, and braver. Betrayal had broken her once, but it could no longer define her. She was no longer asking, "Why me?" She was declaring, "Watch me rise." Because that's the truth of healing. You do not return to who you were before. You become someone new, someone forged by fire, someone who carries both the scar and the strength. Olivia's story is proof that even in the darkest betrayal, there lies the possibility of rebirth. Betrayal is not the end of your story. It may feel like everything collapsed, like the ground disappeared beneath your feet, but it is not the final chapter. Betrayal is an invitation, a painful, unwelcome one, but still an invitation to write a new story where your worth is no longer tied to someone else's choices. Here's the gentle truth I want you to carry with you. You cannot control a man's betrayal, but you can control how you rise from it. His actions may have wounded you, but your healing is yours to claim. Your power is not lost. It is waiting for you on the other side of grief, anger, and confusion. Olivia's journey reminds us of this truth. She was broken, yes, but she was never destroyed. Piece by piece, she rebuilt. And in that rebuilding, she found something greater than love from another person. She found love for herself. That is the kind of love that betrayal can never take away. So if you are listening to this and carrying the sting of betrayal in your own heart, please remember, this pain does not define you. What defines you is how you choose to move forward, how you choose to hold yourself, how you choose to rise. If this message resonates with you, follow Aura Rise to continue this journey of self-love and mental health. Share this video with a friend who is walking through betrayal, because sometimes the right words at the right time can be the light someone else is searching for. And before you go, I want to hear from you. Have you ever experienced betrayal? Share your story in the comments, because your words might be the very reminder another woman needs to find her strength. I'll see you in the next video, ladies. Until then, keep rising, keep healing, and keep loving yourself.